Hi, this is Danieli Parker.
And this is Cristi Parsons, and we are
The Perfectly Imperfect Principals.
Yes, and we are so happy to have you today. We are going to talk, really, our focus today is going to be on instructional coaches, but
So, Cristi, so this all comes from an article, and I want to make sure that you all know about this article and
yes,
this author because it really stood out to me. And I had to call Cristi right away and be like, oh my goodness, Cristi, we got to talk about this. So it is called Language is Leadership: How Teacher Talk Shapes Team Thinking and Instructional Action by Connie Hamilton. And it was published now this summer of 2026. And I think it was so relevant. And it's
so
about
relevant.
instructional coaches and helping with conversation. And Cristi, you and I have worked with a lot of instructional coaches.
Yes.
There are a lot of instructional coaches out there.
Yes.
And just thought this was so timely.
So timely.
And if you don't have an instructional
That's what I
coach,
say, don't stop listening if you don't have an instructional coach.
because if you're an instructional leader,
Yes.
and that's any administrator in a school.
And you have team leads.
Absolutely.
I mean, you may, or, guiding coalition, leadership team, lots of ways to use it. But this article was written for instructional coach. And she lays out 5 ways to steer a conversation. Today, we are going to focus on 2 of those ways.
Yeah, because it really resonated with us, especially for this time of the year. As we kick off the next school year, we're looking at end of the year data, right? A lot of schools have been pouring over their data reports from their state assessments.
Mhm.
Everybody's kind of looking to see, how did we do? What was our scores? There are probably people out there celebrating some things that maybe that they reached their goals. Maybe there was some great celebrations. I always want to say celebrate those wins. Don't ever dismiss them and take time to celebrate them. But then also, Cristi, there always is, all of us as leaders, there's always an area that we're like, that wasn't as good as I wanted it, or
Right.
didn't meet that goal, or
Right.
wow, I'm really disappointed. Like I
Mhm.
was expecting it to be higher, or well, I kind of expected that. And so as we get ready to walk into this next school year, before we start leading conversations with teacher teams about our data, I think there are some things we need to be cognizant of
Mhm.
to set the tone for how the year is going to go, on how we're going to look at data and use data.
Because you're about to go over that data with them at the beginning of the year.
And the
right?
language that you use,
Mhm.
the language your
Sets the
staff
tone.
uses, and the language you allow the staff to use will set the tone for the school year.
Yes. So we're going to practice our language shifts. And that's exactly what Connie Hamilton talks about. And she talks about 2 different types of language shifts. One that invites solutions. So we want to invite solution. And the other one is that we want to use language of instructional ownership. So solutions and ownership.
Yeah.
And that would then take you away from excuses and blame
Yeah.
if we do those 2 things. And data becomes very personal to some people.
I think it's personal to a lot of people.
Yeah.
I
Most
mean,
people.
because you've poured everything in,
Yes.
right? You've been working with these kids. You've been
Mhm.
working
Yeah.
with your school or this grade level. It's
Mhm.
very personal because we've poured so much of what we do. And the reality is, and right now, the time that we live in, so much is put on test scores.
Mhm.
In the newspapers, on social media. There's a lot out there about
yes.
these test scores, even though people will say they don't agree with the test, or they don't
It's
think
part
the
of it.
test should define the school. But yet when it comes out, it never fails. So much is put on them.
Mhm.
So we get it. We get that there's that pressure there. But the languages that we're using, Cristi, is so powerful because it can really either make us or break us.
Yes. So I believe, Daniele, this made me think about the importance of setting up expectations before you have data talks.
Yes.
Those norms of how are we as adults going to behave as we look at data. And so really being crystal clear. I think we skip this part a lot of times when we're having collective conversations that are collaborative. We skip okay, this is what we're going to do today. This is the task. Now, in order to get the most from this task, how are we going to promise? I call it a Texas pinky promise. What are we going to Texas pinky promise that we're going to do for this next hour, hour and a half, however long your time is, together to ensure that we get the most out of our talk? So the first thing we could do is lay down, you know what? How about we watch our language today? So as we're looking at the data, can we all promise to really work hard at not taking it personally and not labeling ourselves as bad or didn't get it done or whatever? And then also, as we're talking about this, let's promise to not label the students too.
Oh,
Oh, well, can we do that?
labeling,
Yes.
not labeling the kids.
Yes.
I think
Or blaming you because she was the first grade teacher and I'm the second grade teacher and they didn't learn jack diddly squat in her room is what this data shows me.
I'm gonna take that personally. I'm gonna knock you out. But, but I mean,
I hear that every year though. Well, they didn't learn it in the year before.
I've heard so
I
many
hear that
things.
so every year. I'm like,
Yes,
well, let's not. That
the blame
person's
game.
in the room with you right now.
The blame game.
Yes.
And it's easy because then it takes that responsibility. It deflects it, and it's not my fault.
So how could we do this, Daniele? You're an instructional coach. And I'm sitting here looking at my data, so let's help them with some questions that you could ask. I'm here looking at the data, and I'm like, what did they do in her class? I mean, seriously. It looks like only 30% of the kids learned how to subtract in problem solving, which is a essential standard.
So one of the things you're going to do is you want to dig deeper. You wanted to look beyond just the overview. Christina and I, if you've listened to some of our podcasts, we talk about going beyond just green, yellow, and red
Oh,
students.
yes.
We don't label kids green, red, yellow. Like,
Mm-mm.
yes, your reports are going to show you that.
Mhm.
It's going to maybe show you in the state of Texas, it's going to be like masters meets and approaching. We don't look at that. We look at more detail.
Yeah.
Like, what specifically are they struggling with?
Mhm.
What specifically are they doing well with?
Or
And
if I have a group of second graders who it looks like did not master subtraction, let's first look at what they have mastered.
yes,
Let's not just dive to the, my goodness, we have a group of kids who don't know how to subtract to, well, wait, they have a really strong foundation of understanding base 10.
hmm
They have a really good foundation. Look how well they did in adding. So what are we going to do now to front load some subtraction?
because Christy, what often I hear, and we're using this one as an
Yeah, I'm
example,
just
just
using
because
it's just an example because it's easy.
whether you teach high school or elementary, you
Yes.
understand addition and subtraction, right?
Yes.
But what Christy just said is she broke it down into they know how to do all these foundational skills. They just don't know this one. Oftentimes, what we hear is they can't do math.
They can't do anything.
These kids don't know any math.
Down in the, yeah.
And so, instructional
These
leaders,
big, broad.
you have to be very careful because grade levels will come to you and say, "What did third grade do last year? These kids can't do anything right."
Mm-hmm.
And as a leader, you're going to say, hold on. No, there are some things that they can. Let's look
Yeah.
at this.
Yeah.
Let's dig a little bit deeper and see because the sky's not always falling.
It
And
is not always
oftentimes
falling.
people will make it sound like through the language that they're using that the sky is falling. And as a leader, if you react to that and act like the sky is falling too, you have now set a precedent for everybody to act like the
Right.
sky is falling
So-
versus digging deeper and becoming a detective and figuring out more of what's in the details.
Yeah. So really using that language, that was her number 4 in the article, using the language to to switch that instructional ownership of we can't go back in the past. We can
No.
only make decisions and actions now. So our ownership now is we have a new year.
Yes.
And we have a great we could do something now, put a system in place to ensure that kids are learning the essentials. And that she talks about a lot about just switching when people get into that blame mode, stopping it as an instructional coach. What can we do now?
Yes. And that's something that is so powerful, Christy, is as an instructional leader, when you start hearing the talk, shutting it down.
Yes.
Because what
Be
will
brave.
happen is people will realize that you're not going to listen to
Blame.
all the blame.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to turn it around and just say, so what are we going to do now? Well, we can't go back. So what can we do now? And Christy, I think it's so important. I think you do have to acknowledge where the struggles are.
Yeah.
And I think
But
you don't sit there and you don't fester in that. And Christy, one of the things that I started doing as a principal is we would have our beginning of the year data. And then within the first 4 to 5 weeks, we would oftentimes have like our beginning of the year screeners that we were
Yes.
doing. And like, we're getting to know the kids. We're getting to
Mhm.
build those relationships. I actually had my teams. I want you to identify what did your students come in strong in?
Yes.
And we would write it down on chart paper. What were
Mhm.
the areas? And then what are specific skills that you're noticing that, man, if I wish they would have come in a little bit stronger in this area? Because oftentimes, foundational math pieces are being taught at the beginning of the year. And so I would force them not to just say math. They had to be specific. They may have said, our kids are really struggling with comparing and ordering numbers once they get to hundreds place,
Yeah.
and that's a
We could
foundational skill
do
they need.
something with that.
They had to be specific. And then what we did is we took those chart papers to our next leadership team meeting that had the grade level chair leads on it, and they shared vertically what
Nice.
were the strengths and what were areas of work. And it wasn't a blame because I never allowed the language to turn into a blame game.
Mhm.
It was, these are things that are going really well that,
Mhm.
man, you guys really rocked
Yeah.
this. What did y'all do?
Yeah.
We sought to understand what they were doing, right? They wanted to learn from each other, but then also they opened the conversation to, oh my goodness, yes, we noticed in our data that when they had to compare numbers past the tens place, they really struggled. And here's the strategies we used.
So what tier 1 strategies can we change this year?
And so this year, this is what we're going to do differently. But then it also allowed that conversation for them to go like, okay, they knew that that was a problem. They were working on it. So it wasn't
Right.
like they were ignoring it.
Right.
And Christy, it's so powerful when you walk in a room and you can truly have conversations around what are we going to do differently now
Now,
versus just I just feel
in the
like it's like a
past.
toilet bowl,
Yeah.
just circling
We both did
around.
that at the same time. We're just gonna circle around here. And
And when
somebody has to get the circling around stopped. Like someone in the room and instructional coaches, that's a lot of times you.
yes, you've got to be the disruption.
Yes. Okay, let's stop. Let's think about, and then you ask questions. And I wanted to talk to you, Danielle, about this because as teachers, we plan our questions.
Yes, but do
So,
we as instructional
do we as
leaders?
instructional leaders? Do we as instructional coaches? Do we go in with some questions planned?
No.
Mm-mm.
And I think
I don't know if I've ever seen that happen.
No, and I think that's part of like, one, that's why I was really excited when I saw this article
Mhm.
because and I know a lot of you are like, I don't e it would be nice to have time to read an article. That's why we're bringing it to you.
Yes, we're bringing
Um,
that's will help you.
we're gonna help you with that, because it's just being mindful of it too. I think sometimes you don't necessarily have to have them written down,
No.
scripted, but being mindful of these are some good questions to ask. So then that way when you walk in, you already kind of have it in your brain and you're already cognizant of it that
Yeah.
you wanna ask that.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, what is our plan? What are we going to do different? Knowing that this is a struggle, what are we going to do differently? Maybe we're not going to change our tier one instruction because the standard is the standard. So, we have to teach them the grade level. But let's talk about some ideas for your small groups when
Right.
you're pulling kids into small groups that maybe help target those students that didn't get that.
Mhm.
Maybe there's a station that they can do for review. Maybe there's something we can spiral. But
But maybe there was a lesson that we did in tier 1 that was not the best lesson.
yeah.
Maybe it wasn't to the rigor. Maybe it was
So,
page
why are we doing it
25.
again?
Yes, on September 1st, page 25 of this textbook, but we know it was not the best lesson to the rigor of the standard.
So, what are we going to do
What we
differently?
can do differently.
We can still use it,
Yes, but
but what are
how
we
we
gonna do
how can we
deeper?
increase that rigor? Mhm.
Absolutely.
And then the other one is the language to invite solutions. And in the article, she talks about more so in this one, the labeling of the students. So we talked about blaming other staff members and how to guide them away from that. This one was the number 3 strategy she had, and it invites solutions. And in this part, she really talked about labeling students. Well, they were unmotivated. They won't do it. They can't. They're lazy.
I've heard so many different things. They can't pay attention. They don't, they're tired.
So she says, okay, steer that conversation to a solution, invite solutions. All right. So if we have an unmotivated student, what are some solutions that we can have? What do we notice are their strengths? I always call it currency. What's the child's
Yes.
currency, right? Ha, let's find out when are the best times of that day for that child. Like, do they have moments where they're really focused and in tune? When do they kind of peter off and start going down?
Mm.
We need to talk about that student and find out a solution to help that child's motivation
Yes.
she talks about instead of just staying in the problem.
Yes. It's really becoming detectives
Mhm. Oh, it is.
and
Yes.
really wanting
Put
to find
detective hats
answers,
on.
but then creating that, then becoming a doctor and becoming prescriptive in creating our plan.
Yes.
So maybe it's just becoming a physician because you're going to dig down, you're going to find what the problem is. You really want to find the root of the problem, and then you want to create a plan to target that issue. And Christy, the biggest thing is I've seen instructional leaders, great instructional leaders that have, walked out of a team meeting and I've said, okay, well, what were your thoughts about that? Just talk to me about reflectively how that conversation go. And they may be frustrated because they were frustrated with the language that the teachers were using, but they didn't say anything in that moment.
Ding, 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 ding. I wish I could have that drum roll. Ding, 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 ding. What she just said.
They don't they
don't
know it,
They know it. They don't
but they don't
address it.
say it.
And you don't have to address it in a way that puts people on the defense. You ask a question.
Yeah.
Ask a question.
Ask a question. And it's not you have to recognize what the issue
Yeah.
is, right? Like, you have to
Help change
acknowledge
their
you can't have this, like, everything is perfect and never address a problem, right? Like, okay, you're right. You know what? That is a struggle for them. So what are we going to do this year to help them with that?
Yeah.
Or, and Christy, I've done, and I've seen people do this, Rosemary, you are so good at this. Like, what are your ideas?
Yes.
What do you think? Like, putting it back on the teachers,
Yes.
using their knowledge, using their expertise, or even if there's a teacher that's not in the room, like, hey, you know what? Like, I'm here struggling too, thinking of a solution, but you know what? Like, I'm going to go get on that phone and I'm going to call Michelle and I'm going to ask Michelle, like, what are y'all's thoughts? Let's call her. Let's see if she has any ideas.
Yes.
Are y'all okay if I call her and just see like what ideas she has? Maybe she can help point us in the right direction. And so as leaders, sometimes we're scared that we have to have all the answers as well. We don't.
No.
Sometimes we have to put on the inquisitive brain too, and we have to go find solutions. But if teachers and if we collectively see together that we're all working together to find solutions, it makes it not an individual. This is all on you to do the work. It's we collectively are going to figure this out.
And I know you don't want to hear this, instructional coaches, but there are so many really good books on instructional coaching. I know you're like, I don't want to read another book. But however, what I find the coaching books that I'm seeing are more resources of here's a problem and here's some questions that you can ask. So it's not like you have to read a book. So look out there. I know like one that comes to my mind is Make It Happen is a really good one because it has each component of the PLC process and questions. So there are resources and there are guides, especially if you're new into this situation. But I also want to say if you've been an instructional coach for a while too, what I'm finding is this codependency of teachers having this codependent relationship with the instructional coach and the instructional coach just doing things for them. So I think it's going back to the questioning, listening, and giving those probing, guiding questions.
Okay, so Christy, I want to go back to something you just said about that. No, that dependency, because I do see that. Well, it's the coach's responsibility to do this.
A lot.
It's the principal's responsibility to go do this. In these meetings, I think it is absolutely essential. Okay, so what is the team's responsibility? What is the teacher team responsibility that's going to do for this? What can we as instructional coaches or what can we as the administrators do to support you? What do you need from us to help make this happen? And being crystal clear when you walk out of that room, what is our goal? What are we targeting? What is the teacher's responsibility? What's the team's responsibility? And then layering everybody's responsibilities and saying it out loud.
Yes.
And I would always say at the end of it, I would reread it and say, I want to make sure I'm clear on what everybody's roles are for this, what you all need.
So good.
So then I would restate it. Did I mishear anybody? Did I misinterpret anything? And then so I'm opening the conversation again for that clarity. And then you always bring that conversation back.
Yes.
So if I said, hey, I'm going to take care of this and I took care of it, I emailed the whole team. Hey guys, thank you so much for our meeting today. I would restate, here's what everybody said they were going to do. I want to follow up on my part. This is what I've done. Here's the information I have found, or here's the resource has been, or whatever it is, has been addressed. But you keep circling back that conversation. I often hear, because data talks are uncomfortable and they make people uncomfortable, it's like we want to have it and then we don't ever want to come back and talk about it again.
Right.
We got to always keep circling it.
Yep. And then all we're teaching people is that whole time that we used to talk about data meant nothing because no one followed that.
Right.
Yeah. So
and teachers hate that.
Yeah. Honor the time. Honor the time.
I hate that. If you're going to take my time, let's make it relevant.
Yes.
I am one. And so if you're a teacher like that too, I get you because Christy, I don't like it any more than anybody else. Don't waste my time. What are we going to do with this conversation? And is it going to be brought back up? And so leaders, your credibility is that circling back and bringing it back up because that's that follow through. And if you're trying to set the precedent that you're going to be consistent, that you're going to follow through with what you say, instructional coaches, this is you too.
Yes.
If you don't, then they're going to know, oh, we'll have these conversations, but don't worry, nothing's going to happen.
It's busy work.
Yes.
Yeah. So credibility, really guiding those conversations to go in depth and to and with those guiding questions and stopping the blame and excuse when yeah,
Absolutely.
let's not stir and like we both
No.
said, let's not keep everybody in the stirring phase.
So, Connie Hamilton, kudos to you for writing
Yes,
such a timely
thank you.
article. Thank you for sharing those
Yes,
things because it really resonated with both Cristi and I. And listeners, we hope it resonated with you. And so, we would love to hear,
we want to comment.
did something resonate with you as well?
And I would like also come back to this, save it. And as the year goes on, if you have some questions or some conversations that came up, come back and comment. We would love to hear what's going on in real life.
Yeah. What's
Yes.
happening in your world?
All right. So thank you for spending the day with us. And we want to remind you to embrace your imperfections and celebrate your win.
Until next time.